In the fading dusk, an ancient temple stood isolated amid the desolate wilderness. Before a dust-covered statue, a devout woman recounted her sacred dream and knelt in faith. She gently urged her husband to pray with her tomorrow, hopeful that their wish might soar. The weathered man nodded silently, his wife's gentle gaze heavy with years of yearning for a child. They prayed for a child to complete their family, yet his heart ached from old losses. Just the fragile hope flickered. A strange figure descended like fate, starting an uncanny tale. In the temple, the wife panicked as her husband froze, asking why he looked so dazed. A thunderous sound from the sky shattered the silence, heralding a mysterious arrival. The two clung together in fear, the woman too stunned to grasp what had happened. A young man, barely 20, appeared bewildered in this strange land with a throbbing headache. He looked at his hands, puzzled by the unfamiliar clothes, his doubt deepening. Before he could react, a woman seized his hand, teary-eyed, believing the heavens had sent her son. The husband, flustered and wary, didn't know whether to believe this miracle. Shen, startled by the sudden grip, frowned, questioned her identity, and quickly pulled back. He stepped forward and firmly declared he couldn't just call strangers his parents. The husband, furious, kicked him aside for insulting his wife, thinking the fury had ended. The wife lashed out at her husband for hurting the son she believed in. Shen stood dumbfounded at the absurd family brawl, then shouted for them to stop. A strange sensation washed over him, making his head spin. He eyed their ancient garb and makeup, suspicion rising within. Staring at the unfamiliar world, he wondered had he crossed into another realm. As twilight faded, the sound of a coachman's shout cut through his drifting thoughts. The adoptive father smiled cryptically, hinting Shen came from afar, which he quietly admitted, outwardly calm. Shen's mind churned with fragmented, fading memories. He still remembered his hard youth before 19, filled with heavy labor. Life had often left him wondering why fate crushed him so ruthlessly. With no kin or refuge, he had often bowed his head in silent despair. Snapping back to the present, he sighed, puzzled why he was here at all. The woman ignored his doubts, speaking gently like a mother reunited with her lost child. The man pondered, then sternly proposed they proceed to their destination. Startling Shen, the scenery shifted to perilous rocky mountains, where a rickety wooden bridge led to the famed Dongfang Academy. A young woman stepped out, her sharp gaze scanning him before nodding slightly at his attire. The girl named Nanqiu firmly declared that Shen might be heaven's chosen. While Chen Tong remained doubtful, Nanqiu ignored the skepticism and decided if he was fake, he'd be punished properly. She pointed a glowing crystal. Daring Shen to test it, he hesitated but stepped forward. Following her words, he touched the strange stone. Nothing happened but his own reflection staring back. Seeing no reaction, Chen Tong angrily accused him of being a fraud, and Nanqiu ordered his expulsion. As scorn filled the air, a strange emotion seeped into Shen's mind, leaving him dazed. Suddenly, cryptic knowledge about the ancient crystal surfaced in his head, a legend of divine hairs and power awakening. A distant voice called, dragging him into a crimson void of eerie illusions. There, he faced a chained warlord who scolded yet urged him to unlock his potential. The sinister voice echoed as two skeletal beings rose, calling to him with reverent dread. The bony hands closed in, freezing his body in helpless terror. Just as the horror peaked, the vision shattered, flinging him back to reality. He yanked his hand away from the crystal as if escaping a nightmare. Nanqiu screamed, spotting the crystal's reaction, while his foster parents trembled nearby. Overcome with fear, Shen roared in anger, calling the ritual insane and deadly. Nanqiu signaled Chen Tong to act, and he coldly obeyed without hesitation. With a sharp gaze, Chen Tong chanted an ancient summoning incantation. Arms outstretched, he formed a bizarre stance to begin the powerful rite. Shen gasped inwardly, utterly lost in this bizarre spectacle. A mystic armor suddenly enveloped him, and Chen Tong forced him toward the crystal. Despite his struggle, Shen was powerless before Chen Tong's overwhelming strength and quiet apology. Without pause, Chen Tong slammed his hand onto the stone. Pain surged as Shen screamed in agony. Only after full contact did Chen Tong retreat, still watching him warily. His foster parents froze in terror, while Nanqiu burst into laughter. Intrigued by the chaos, gleaming armor formed over Shen, a majestic battle suit wrapping his body. Golden light flared from his arm, sending ripples through the air. He stood like a war god, radiant armor and deadly weaponry making all avert their gaze. Chen Tong gawked in disbelief, speechless before the impossibly mightier armor. Without waiting, Shen dashed forth like a storm, ready to strike. Seeing his terrifying speed, Chen Tong trembled uncontrollably in fright. In terror, Chen Tong stammered for mercy, but it was far too late. With a casual swing, Shen shattered his armor, sending Chen Tong crashing down in agony. Watching from afar, Nanqiu's surprise turned into admiration for his explosive talent. As Shen subdued the troublemaker, his foster mother rushed in, pleading for him to stop and return, but he seemed deaf, his eyes hollow and awareness gone. Suddenly, he turned, a cold murderous glare locking onto her. With a single motion, he hurled his weapon toward her in uncontrollable fury. The husband lunged forward in panic, shouting as he shielded his wife. The blade sliced through the air, leaving her too stunned to react. At that moment, a glowing info card appeared. Chen Tong, top student. class monitor, and assistant instructor, in a heartbeat between life and death. Han Shen's weapon halted mere inches from his foster mother. Thankfully, Nankyu intervened in time, saving her amid everyone's shock. With icy calm, she crushed Han Shen's weapon without hesitation, then she hurled the shards back at him, a warning sharp as steel. Han Shen froze, bewildered by his own wild, uncontrollable actions. His weapon turned to dust as a cryptic smile crept across his face. Before anyone could react, he leapt skyward, charging at Nankyu as if possessed, yet Nankyu stayed calm, raising her hand to block the blow effortlessly. In a flash, she struck back, blasting him away to prove her strength. The sharp pain cleared his mind. He realized had been under control. Confused, he glanced around, wondering what had just hijacked his mind. Then a virtual system voice chimed, announcing host connection and battlefield activation. Instantly, Han Shen was pulled into a pitch-black void, bewildered by the mysterious voice. Another message appeared: reward granted, mental interference removal skill, armor, and fighting will. Reading it carefully, he guessed his earlier frenzy was the mental disorder mentioned. The system displayed a new mission: explore and uncover secrets of Dongfang Academy. Curiosity ignited, Han Shen accepted without hesitation. But as the system faded, unease crept and too many questions remained, and he hadn't noticed he was on a strange bed. When he opened his eyes, his foster mother burst into tears, hugging him tightly, while his foster father watched sternly. Still dazed, Han Shen asked where he was. His foster father replied curtly, "It's academy housing," and had been unconscious for 2 hours. He sighed, clutching his head, unsure if what happened was real or just a dream. Seeing his unease, his foster mother asked tenderly, eyes filled with worry. Thinking he was hungry, she suddenly offered to nurse him and began unbuttoning, making the moment painfully awkward. The foster father quickly stopped her, reminding that Han Shen was an adult and such acts were inappropriate. But she refused to listen, insisting he was still a child needing care. The husband changed tone, soothing her and asking Han Shen if he was simply thirsty. Seeing his effort to defuse the situation, Han Shen nodded to avoid more trouble. The foster father grew stern, warning that without intervention, the earlier chaos could have been disastrous. Hearing mention of Master Liu, Han Shen recalled the girl who struck him awake. Filled with doubt, Namkyu's image flashed in his mind as the foster father confirmed she was the academy's youngest, strict, and beautiful master. Excited, he revealed Namkyu would personally train him, while the foster mother mildly scolded her for hitting too hard. Han Shen asked in surprise if it truly stayed to study, while his foster mother smiled, offering tea and gentle words. The foster father affirmed firmly the academy trains armor warriors, and they'd visit often. The mother hugged him tightly, flustering him. Remembering something urgent, he requested to meet his master, while his mother kept cuddling him, mumbling, "Good child." The scene shifted to a silent mountain night where Namkyu waited alone. Seeing him arrive late, she asked if he came for the archive pavilion. He nodded honestly. With grave expression, he said he wanted to understand this world, hiding the system's secret, which Namkyu subtly sensed. Closing her eyes, she said the archives were vast and time-consuming, so she'd summarize first. Through her vivid narration, a continent rich with spiritual energy appeared, filled with strange beings and awakened warriors. Those who awakened armor force became battlefield armorists wielding great power and unique skills, yet peace was threatened by evil creatures and corrupted auras called heaven calamities that brought endless destruction. Namkyu looked up, asserting that the ceaseless war between armorists and calamities sustained the continent's life. After guiding him there, she softened, leaving with brief advice for him to explore inside. Standing before the archive pavilion, Han Shen pondered this perilous world, hoping to regain his lost memories. He strode into the grand hall without hesitation to take a look around. But as the door creaked open, he met the bloodred gaze of a massive black beast. Han Shen froze, eyes wide, mind blank with shock. Before he could react, the tiger lunged at blinding speed, claws slicing through the air. Memories of Liu Nankyu returned. Her genius reputation, noble background, and wide admiration. Without thinking, he instinctively summoned his weapon to block the ferocious strike. The creature's terrifying power shook the air, its savage eyes locked on him. Han Shen suddenly realized something off about its attacks and movements. Han Shen braced himself, driving his weapon into the floor to withstand the beast's onslaught. Overwhelmed by the tiger's might, he panicked, drenched in sweat, muttering, "Not good, need full armor, I'm dead." A deep voice suddenly echoed, making the beast whirl and glare at a man emerging from the shadows. The elderly man approached, sternly commanding the beast, then greeted Han Shen politely, introducing himself as Librarian Jiang. Han Shen lowered his weapon cautiously, asking how the old man knew his identity. The scene shifted to a vast chamber stacked high with books. Dim lights from above cast a hazy glow over the room. Elder Jiang gently explained that Lady Li had informed him but told him to keep it secret. When Han Shen asked about the tiger, he said it was the library's guardian spirit beast. The tiger, hearing their talk, curled up to sleep. Elder Jiang noted it only reacted to unfamiliar scents and wouldn't attack without orders. With a grave tone, Jiang said that in 3 decades had never seen records about memory restoration. Henshen sighed, admitting his memories were mostly painful, so recovering them might not be a blessing. Hearing that, Jiang leaned close and teased, asking if Henshen just called him handsome, leaving him speechless. The silence made Jiang, whose real name was Huangwei, smirk proudly. Boasting had once been the most handsome man across 8 regions. Henshen froze at the bizarre claim, wondering if he'd misheard, blushing in confusion. Over time, Elder Huang taught him much about this world, eccentric yet insightful. Together they researched the battlefield continent, uncovering a chaotic realm where time itself twisted unpredictably. The dense theories of armor linguistics left his head spinning. He decided to study slowly to keep up. A strange chill rose as he read about the legend of dark spirits amassing power to sow chaos. Armorists would eventually fall before these sinister calamities, plunging the land into ruin. At doomsday's edge, a figure known as the Holy Sun appeared, a beacon of hope as the golden stone blazed with destiny. At that instant, Henshen's system reappeared, granting the skill eye of lethal insight for precise target analysis. Amid dim light, the system confirmed his experiences were real, not illusion. Huang Yai noticed his distraction and asked what he saw, but Henshen dodged the question, hiding the system's truth. The next morning, the scene shifted to a vast mountain field behind the academy. Ready for new training, calm and composed, Namq led Henshen before the waiting students. With a serious face, she announced the training session and made a brief declaration to everyone. She introduced Henshen as the new student. While he smiled lightly and waved to the crowd, one male student was shocked to see teacher Li herself present instead of her usual assistants. A few female students began eyeing Henshen, some whispering admiration for his handsome looks. Ignoring the stares, Namq swiftly ordered the students to make space for Henshen to join the line. She looked at the class in mild frustration, declaring the training would return to basics, no armor allowed. Henshen felt lost, unsure what kind of challenge this training actually was. A nearby girl glared at him, suspecting his weakness caused the difficulty drop. A male student whispered to Yunjing that Henshen standing in front meant teacher Liu favored him. Yunjing smirked slyly, thinking Henshen had stolen Namq's attention from him. He shot Henshen a plotting glance, already planning to teach this new rival a lesson. Meanwhile, Huang Yai, the eccentric but dependable librarian, was mentioned again in another subplot. The scene shifted to the rear courtyard, where Namq announced that passing through the forest ahead would complete the session. She coolly reminded them the last one to finish would be punished as usual. The class responded in unison, full of respect and discipline. Henshen mimicked them, utterly confused inside. Satisfied, Namq firmly ordered the training to begin. At her signal, the students dashed off like it was a life-or-death race. Henshen froze, then sprinted after them, guessing it was a stamina and speed test. But within moments, everyone, even the girls, left him far behind. Remembering his hard labor past, he found it strange how weak he now seemed. He wondered why his body lagged so badly while others moved like beasts. A cracking sound jolted him, making him look up. Huge boulders tumbled down the mountain like a storm, crashing toward the trainees. Henshen froze in horror at the sight, yet the students dodged or smashed the rocks effortlessly. Like seasoned warriors, he stood stunned, unable to believe humans could do such absurd feats. Before he could react, a massive rock barreled toward him. He thought his end had come. In that perilous instant, a shadow flashed by like lightning. Baozi appeared, delivering a powerful kick that shattered the oncoming boulder. Henshen raised his arms to shield himself from the flying debris. She landed gracefully, movements as fluid as the wind. Her voice was firm yet gentle, warning him not to slack off even in basic training. Smiling brightly, she encouraged him, while his system displayed her info. Baozi, rank E, armor unactivated. Still dazed, Henshen noted her stats, amazed by the system's detailed analysis. Watching her leave, warmth filled him, grateful she helped despite leading the race. As he prepared to run again, someone tapped his back. Yunjing, acting suspiciously friendly after fake pleasantries, Yunjing sneered a snide remark and walked off, leaving Henshen irritated. He hadn't noticed him earlier. Anger bubbled as he realized the system couldn't access Yunjing's data, may be restricted, but it still unsettled him deeply. The scene shifted to a dark, silent forest devoid of human traces. Resting against a tree, Henshen gasped for air, asked the system about the training zone and his profile. It revealed Henshen. Armor Lubu, Human King rank 1, not yet equipped. The phrase half-witted skill flashed on screen, leaving Henshen insulted and demoralized. Just as he pondered, a massive log hurtled toward his back. In a split second, he dodged instinctively with the reflexes of a seasoned warrior. The misfired log stunned him. He hadn't expected the forest to hide such deadly traps. The system announced had evaded the trap and earned 100 experience points. Seeing the number rise, his eyes gleamed with hope. Leveling up was possible. Suddenly, pain shot from his shoulder. Numbness spread as the system warned of poison and began auto-antibody synthesis. He panicked at being poisoned. He recalled Yunjing's deceitful grin, certain that the poison was his doing. Before he could react, a blinding light flashed straight at him. A volley of arrows flew, dripping with murderous intent. Luckily, they only grazed him, though pain made him grit his teeth as the system said had failed to dodge. No points. Now adapting, he swiftly dodged the next barrage, earning experience with every near miss. Clutching his bleeding wound, he glared bitterly at the arrows stuck in a tree, cursing his weakness. A sudden loud crack startled him. He turned to locate the sound. Above him hung a deadly trap, ready to drop any moment, throwing him into panic. As he froze, system data on Bao Zi appeared, a kind 19-year-old girl struggling in combat due to her striking figure. Then came good news: antibodies complete. Detox successful. The numbness vanished. He exhaled in relief, strength returning. Without delay, he leapt aside from the falling trap, earning another 100-point bonus. Stepping back, he observed cautiously, eyes sharp with focus. He shifted sideways, silently analyzing his odds of dodging with steady condition. Time flowed in the desolate forest, untouched by man. After countless evasions, he moved like a shadow, the system rewarding each escape. He slipped past a pit of spikes, gaining more points for avoiding danger. Sharp darts whizzed by, but his reactions grew quicker, movements more precise. Gritting his teeth, he pushed through the storm of brutal traps. Whether wood or stone, he dodged deftly, determined to use the system to strengthen himself. The screen flashed endlessly with bonuses for his daring escapes. After a grueling survival spree, his strength surged. The system upgraded him to Human King rank 2 with combat and defense stats at level E. As his armor advanced, his body transformed, and he pictured a far stronger version of himself. His body felt reborn, muscles tightened, bones fortified, skin hardened like tempered steel. Instantly, a new skill appeared: Infantry Tower Formation, Level 1. Infantry type. He read that it could summon 2 support soldiers, auto-scaling with him, no armor needed. In awe, he confirmed activation, still amazed by this newly gained power. Deep in thought, Henshen realized advanced skills needed special gear, sparking his curiosity. He didn't notice someone secretly tailing him. Seeing Henshen unharmed, Yunjing fumed. Why wasn't the poison working? From the shadows, he stepped out, ready to strike again, thinking he'd underdosed, but Henshen spun around, grabbed his wrist, and glared, pure fury blazing. Looking down, he noticed Yunjing's ring glowing oddly, reminding him of his shoulder pain. Yunjing panicked, trying to explain his failed plot. Before he could finish, Henshen blasted him away with a cold strike. Without hesitation, Henshen picked up the ring, declaring it evidence. That move enraged Yunjing. No one had ever humiliated him like this. He roared, leaping into the air, screaming threats of destruction. Henshen reacted instantly, blocking the ferocious blow. They clashed fiercely, exchanging relentless strikes. Yunjing was stunned. His attacks were easily countered. Henshen wasn't weak at all. Calm on the outside, Henshen still felt pressure, silently thankful for his level up, landing smoothly. His cold gaze locked on the foe. Yunjing lost control, revealing his true identity as the arrogant young master of the Song clan. But Henshen remained unmoved. Henshen casually replied, half joking that he'd test his new skill on him. His tone showed pure annoyance. He had zero interest in Yunjing. Without delay, he summoned the new skill, Pure Abyss Tower Guards. 2 fierce ancient warriors appearing with terrifying aura. One of them looked especially deadly, its weapon oozing death's presence. Faced with the horror, Yunjing turned pale and speechless. Henshen, utterly calm, gave a short command. 1 guard charged like thunder, great blade slashing with earth-shaking power. Yunjing narrowly dodged as a tree behind him split in 2. Seeing that, his confidence shattered. The summons were as strong as battle armor. Still stunned, he saw the second guard preparing a brutal finishing blow. He rolled aside just in time, heart pounding in terror. Cornered, Yunjing gritted his teeth and summoned his battle armor. The 2 guards only stared at him blankly, as if mocking his struggle. In moments, Yunjing donned flashy armor, shouting toxic strike. The system showed it as Human King armor tier 3. Power D, defense E. He launched a fierce counterattack, dust swirling as the guards fought back with equal might. While fighting, Yunjing schemed confidently, trusting his twin Venom's fatal scorpion and bloodflow toxin were unbeatable. But before he could gloat, the 2 tower guards struck from behind. His poisons failed completely, driving him into despair. Feeling things spiral out of control, he instinctively retreated. Eyes fixed on Henshen, he planned to kill the summoner, but Henshen had vanished, leaving him shouting in confusion. Suddenly, an ambusher struck from behind, landing a devastating blow he couldn't evade. The scene shifted rapidly into a dense, eerie forest. System notifications chimed endlessly, flooding the air. Henshen escaped and reflected, gaining 180 XP and realizing experience was the root of power. Unwilling to linger, he shot forward at impossible speed. Then the system abruptly triggered a forced quest and began teleportation. Seeing the prompt, Henshen frowned, startled by the coercion. Before he could react, light engulfed him, dragging him away as he shouted helplessly. Unable to resist, he was swept completely out of the forest. Only falling leaves remained in the silent woods. Henshen reappeared in a gloomy, oppressive cave. He looked around sharply, studying the chaotic tunnels ahead. Spotting a stone door, he grew irritated at being forcibly sent here. With no way back, he moved forward, finding a deep, sinister pit below. His mind buzzed with questions about the system's intent as he descended into mystery. A cold, mechanical voice ordered him to step down and stand in the center. Though doubtful, he obeyed, trusting the system as his last faith. Then the system locked his armor and disabled his body, sparking fear. bound tight. He realized he had no control left. From tiny cracks, countless creatures began to crawl out. Hundreds swarmed toward him like an unstoppable tide. Facing the horror, fear overwhelmed him. Death felt near for the first time. Venomous scorpions rushed in, turning the ordeal into chaos. Poisonous snakes joined the assault, trapping him in a deadly ring. The system coldly declared the toxin trial had begun, crushing all hope. Paralyzed, he endured the swarm's merciless, venomous assault. Burning pain spread as bites tore his face, forcing him to grit through agony. Scorpions stabbed his arms repeatedly, each sting searing flesh while he wondered why. Doubt flooded his mind as Snake's fangs sank deep. Clinging without mercy, red alerts blared. The system declared severe poisoning. His body neared its limit. Despair flickered in Henshen's eyes, his last faith fading away. But the protagonist's fateful light reignited, freeing Henshen and blasting off the venomous swarm. After endless torment, his body convulsed violently, staggering near collapse. Unable to endure the brutal trial, he fell to the cold ground, toxins blazing through his veins. Each breath tore like fire, blood spilling as death's edge closed in and his mind faded. Body and spirit trembled in pain. He closed his eyes, surrendering as snow fell silently. The scene shifted to a ruined city filled with screams of human tragedy. A worker was crushed under falling steel. The crowd frozen in horror. Shouts echoed, urging people to rush the victim to help. Voices still pleaded in his ears, clinging to faint hope of saving a life. Yet the last image he saw was white snow under a gray sky. When he opened his eyes, a weary man with food stood nearby as a youth nervously asked if this was right. Met the cold reply. The man's cruelty showed as he shoveled dirt over Henshen, burying him alive like garbage. Henshen closed his eyes in silence as the soil sealed his fading consciousness. No one cared for his life in that abyss. Old memories flared like wildfire. Then the system announced a biological reaction. His body had produced an antidote. It added that he not only survived but evolved, gaining superior poison resistance. Memories cleared. He realized fate had forged him through pain. His gaze sharp with resolve, enlightened, he understood the system had pushed him to awaken his dormant vitality. Fire burned in his eyes as he dared the system to bring every trial for ultimate power. Opening his eyes, he saw the familiar forest return around him. Under the dark, moonlit sky, he wondered how long he had been lost. A rustle nearby made him tense. Something was watching. Suddenly, Kintong appeared, shocked that Henshen was still alive. Their eyes met. Kintong grabbed his shoulder, asking rapidly while Henshen stood speechless at such genuine concern. Instantly, Kintong shouted to the others that Henshen had been found. Henshen stared blankly, confused, muttering in disorientation. The scene shifted to his quiet room late at night. Nankao questioned him in surprise, saying he'd passed out until nightfall during inspection. Kintong suggested hypnosis or illusion, while Nankiao sighed in relief he was safe. She sipped her tea and softly mentioned the name Song Yunjing. Hearing the familiar name, Henshin only gave a blank look. As if it meant nothing, Kintong leaned in and whispered about a man who once tailed Li. Irritating her, Henshin recalled a faint memory and confirmed with a serious tone. "Before we found you," Kintong said, "we discovered Song Yunjing's corpse." The news struck Henshin silent, guilt twisting his heart. Things had gone too far. In the room, Kintong's doubtful voice said had never met the man. Having been on medical leave, with a cold analytical gaze, Kintong deduced there were signs of at least 2 killers. Nankiao listened quietly, nodding as if she grasped the whole picture. Her eyes blazed. She vowed the academy would pursue justice to the end. Outwardly calm, Henshin's mind churned with dread. Had he caused this tragedy? Realizing it was late, Nankiao ended the talk and left him alone. In the quiet room, he poured tea, his eyes heavy with gloom. The more he thought, the more anxious he became. Was that death tied to his vague orders? Staring in his tea's reflection, he blamed himself for his unclear commands. His eyes suddenly turned icy as he called out with authority. The 2 tower guards appeared behind him. He calmly asked if they had killed in the forest. Both bowed and admitted to the murder. The truth froze Henshin. He roared in fury, never having ordered such a thing. Seeing their blank faces, he realized they'd acted on their own. They bowed to apologize, but he angrily waved them away, refusing to see them. Enraged, he sternly forbade them from killing without explicit command. Terrified by his anger, the guards knelt, trembling. After his scolding, they vanished into nothingness, leaving him deep in thought about tighter control. Just then, the system issued an urgent mission, ordering immediate movement along the marked route. Startled, Henshin focused on the screen showing the mission's next steps. Under dim light, the path shimmered like an invisible trail guiding him forward. Without hesitation, he opened the door and entered the endless corridor. Doubting where the system led, memories of the toxin trial sent a shiver through him. Was this another torture? Time slipped by as the scene shifted to a vast, eerie hall at midnight. The chamber was empty, only moonlight seeping through cracks, painting pale light on stone. Henshin landed softly on the cold floor, his sharp eyes scanning the darkness. The system confirmed the final destination reached. Pathfinding mission complete. He looked back wearily. This sealed chamber deep in the academy felt too isolated. His gaze halted. Something lay beneath the floor, tightening his chest. The system's flat voice echoed, "Final point, Academy Cemetery. Reward 1000 XP. Before him was a corpse under a white sheet. He frowned. Was this really a cemetery? Slowly, he reached out to lift the cloth and see the face beneath. In the moonlit silence, he froze. He recognized the familiar face. Quietly, he covered it again, his heart weighed down like stone. The system chime reward granted one unarmored tower guard and special skill armor extraction. While still thinking, a shadow appeared behind him, making him turn alertly. It was a bear tower guard, no armor, no weapon, raising suspicion about the system's intent. The system coldly asked, "Proceed with armor extraction." He stroked his chin, pondering the strange choice. A glint flashed in his eyes as realization dawned on something long hidden. The system didn't wait, it directly initiated the skill armor extraction. Han Shen reached out to Song Yunjing's corpse, feeling energy surge violently. Notifications poured in. The system began extracting battle armor. Before his eyes, the tower guard was clothed in shining armor, moonlight reflecting off its golden sheen. The completed armor hugged its frame. Bristling with blades, the system confirmed success and asked for a name. Gazing at the stats and abilities, he nodded slightly, asking how many tower guards he could command. The system answered bluntly, over 100,000 low Bing units. The massive number stunned him, almost beyond belief. The system listed archers, cavalry, healers, and siege units, all capped at 100,000 each. The thought of leading 500,000 undead soldiers thrilled him. A new day began. The second day in the vast mountain range. On the training grounds, tension from the murder still lingered, but tighter security calmed things quickly. Han Shen's foster parents often visited, though he politely declined. Old Shen still cared for him warmly, leaving him awkward. Calling them parents still felt distant, but they didn't seem to mind. Training resumed as normal. Han Shen kept the tower guard secret, focusing instead on upgrading his armor for independence. He grew adept at dodging traps and passing trials, but noticed evasion alone no longer gave XP. Wearing his armor in duels boosted his skills greatly, yet the missing helmet puzzled him. No one could explain why. Time passed quietly. Han Shen bonded with classmates, especially Kentong, whose humor bridged genuine friendship. Gradually, the academy's secrets emerged, disguised nobles hunting talent or recruiting teachers in a power game never meant for them. Since entering this world, Han Shen had blended in, and after 3 months, the first 5-day break arrived. Amid the holiday buzz, Kentong grinned, asking his plans, while Bao Zi eagerly talked about going home. Unlike their excitement, Han Shen stayed quiet, saying he didn't know where to go, still feeling lost in this strange world. Bao Zi invited him home for steamed buns, but he politely refused, not wanting to impose. As they chatted, Hong Yai suddenly burst from the bushes, leaves stuck all over, announcing an imperial carriage had come for Han Shen. Startled, Han Shen frowned, wondering who summoned him, then curiously asked Huang Ye what he was doing in the bushes. The scene shifted. A tranquil village appeared like a painting in misty nature. It was Fuzhen, a town near the academy. The carriage carried Han Shen into a grand mansion as the driver announced their arrival. He stepped down cautiously. The place felt unfamiliar yet strangely nostalgic. Though it was his first visit, the Grand Signhan Manor loomed ahead, as if welcoming a long-lost son home. Entering, he examined every corner, recalling a classmate's words and realizing they shared the same surname. The great door opened. He walked in slowly, uncertain what awaited. Before he could see clearly, his foster mother rushed in and hugged him, her voice trembling with emotion. His combat reflexes made him dodge instinctively, instantly feeling guilty for it. His foster father stormed forward, kicking him in the face and calling him an unfilial brat. What a bizarre family. The mother retaliated, smacking her husband and forbidding him from hurting her precious son. Amid the chaos, a gentlewoman spoke softly, inviting everyone to eat before the food got cold. His mother's cousin and housekeeper, beaming, his foster mother grabbed his hand, saying she'd prepared a feast. He quietly followed. She led him down the vast corridor, each step unlocking distant, hazy memories. In the kitchen, she pushed him into a chair, saying this was his home. The table full of dishes moved him deeply. Noticing someone missing, he asked about Madame Shen. His foster father smiled, saying she was finishing the final dish for him. The man gazed ahead calmly, explaining she'd been cooking since dawn. Excited for his return, Han Shen nodded. Silence hung between them, awkward as two strangers pretending to chat. He forced a smile. Was father-son bonding supposed to feel this stiff? Suddenly, his foster father cleared his throat, ordering the maids to leave with a serious tone. When only the two remained, he shut the door, eyes filled with solemn gravity. Han Shen froze as the man abruptly knelt on the stone floor. Alarmed, he rushed to lift him, shouting for him not to kneel. But the man stayed down, voice trembling yet sincere. He knew Han Shen was a sacred son beyond mortal kin, and begged one favor. Stunned, Han Shen stared at the aged, time-worn face of the man he'd called father. The old man tearfully told of his lost child, a mad wife, pleading to let her call him son for comfort. Han Shen fell silent, his heart aching too deeply for words. Outside, his aunt offered to help with dinner, but his mother refused, insisting Wei Ling handle it herself. Seeing her sister radiant again, the aunt grew emotional. It had been ages since that joy had touched her face. As they cooked, a shadow suddenly dropped from above. A black-armored figure landed heavily, shaking the ground and startling them both. A sinister grin spread across his face, eyes gleaming with malice. In panic, the two women screamed murder, their cries echoing through the manor. Maids rushed in to report the kidnapping, leaving Hin Shen's father frozen in shock, thinking of his wife's peril. He howled in anguish, unable to fathom such evil striking his home. Tormented by guilt, he blamed his complacency for lowering his guard. Hin Shen hurried to steady him. Though comforted, his father stayed panicked, mumbling about reporting to the authorities for help. But then he hesitated. Acting rashly might worsen things and endanger his wife further. Thinking of her capture, tears streamed down his face. He was utterly powerless. Remembering Hin Shen's combat skill, he turned to find him only to realize his son had vanished. The scene shifted to Peace City. Calm and seemingly untouched by tragedy, Hin Shen sprinted across rooftops, eyes sharp as blades, tracking his mother's trail. Though outwardly calm, determination burned within, his tracking skills at full power. As long as the distance wasn't far, he could sense familiar energy, especially his mother's aura. Time passed. Sunlight filtered through the leafy forest canopy in gentle hues. Deer grazed peacefully, painting a tranquil, dreamlike scene. Hin Shen's sudden arrival startled them into chaos, shattering the calm. Focusing, he noticed the target's aura fading, as if being pulled away, his gaze fixed on a dark cave, the likely destination of his mother's captors. Standing before the ominous cave, he hesitated, sensing ambush within. Despite the danger, worry for his mother drove him to enter, every nerve alert. Inside, glowing mushrooms cast an eerie, ghostly light. Then a shocking sight made his heart pound uncontrollably. He froze. His mother sat motionless. He rushed to her side, calling her name in panic, checking her pulse. He found her breathing but unconscious, unresponsive to his cries. As he sought a way to help her, a dark sound echoed, thickening the tension. A massive boar-like beast emerged, eyes glowing red with murderous intent. The system warned a local spirit beast had marked him as prey. Seeing the creature's gaze shift toward his mother, he devised a plan to lure it away. When it charged like a storm, Hin Shen dodged in a lightning-fast motion. He drew his radiant weapon, striking rapidly, but his blows barely scratched its hide. Sweat ran down his face. Its strength far exceeded his own, trapping him in peril. His attacks only enraged it further. The system warned of a rage state boosting its power. With little time left, he touched his mother's shoulder, resolving to risk everything to save her. Carrying her on his back, he dashed out at full speed, ignoring the beast's roars behind him. Just outside, he froze. A familiar figure blocked the cave entrance, the female steward once captured too. What unsettled him wasn't her presence, but her calm, almost joyous expression amid danger. From behind her stepped a black-armored man radiating killing intent. The traitorous mastermind revealed. The sudden twist threw Hin Shen into chaos, mind racing for a way out. His aunt let out an icy laugh and ordered the attack, her emotionless tone chilling everyone. The armored brute charged, but Hin Shen dodged, realizing the man was shielding his comrades. The vile plan unfolded to lure the mother and son into the cave, block the exit, and bury them alive. Seeing the traitor's smug grin, Hin Shen's blood boiled with seething rage. In fury, he vowed to turn their laughter into the screams of the defeated. Without hesitation, he drew his weapon, eyes cold as frost, ready for battle. He gently laid his mother on the ground, hands tender but spirit unshaken. The giant beast behind them refused to relent, yet Hin Shen stayed calm as if every move was preplanned. He whispered reassurance, promising to bring her home safely, and told her to rest easy. No sooner had he spoken than a massive spider lunged forth, eyes blazing blooded. Hin Shen barked orders in a firm, commanding tone. Steady as a war general, Lu Bing appeared like a whirlwind, blocking the spirit beast's strike in an instant. Her long hair whipped in the wind as she unleashed a deadly move, sword blazing with light. Overwhelmed by superior power, the monster staggered back, panic flickering in its eyes. Faced with the elite squad's crushing presence, the spirit beast dared not take another step. Hin Shen gave swift, concise orders: finish fast. Other matters awaited outside. The warriors charged ahead with decisive precision, leaving no chance for counterattack. Chaos reigned inside the cave, while outside, traitors guarded the entrance as it slowly collapsed. A member of the rebellion urged retreat, but the stewardess insisted on waiting, unwilling to risk mistakes. Her cunning plan showed, pretending to be caught in the chaos while hiding her murderous intent. Inwardly, she recalled her bitter years as a servant, her greed thwarted by the sudden return of her estranged nephew. Consumed by spite, she swore she'd rather sacrifice her own sister than lose the fortune within reach. Her rage broke when the rebel leader warned that meddling further would bring ruin. Just then, an explosion thundered from the cave, dust and debris scattering wildly. Fan Hui clenched his teeth, eyes blazing. Suspecting Hin Shen had somehow survived, a deafening blast collapsed the cave entrance, rocks flying everywhere. Fan Hui turned to shield the stewardess from the raining debris. Peering into the darkness, he shouted a challenge. Sure, Hin Shen would soon emerge, but instead of an enemy, a gigantic boar lumbered out, igniting his furious disappointment. Fan Ho mocked the beast for failing, but before he finished, horrific sounds split the air. The monster's head thudded to the ground, rolling to their feet in eerie silence. Hin Shen strode out of the smoke, eyes sharp as blades, terrifying his stunned foes. Fan Ho forced a grin to mask his fear, sneering that Hin Shen must be running on fumes. But right then, a third Lo Bing appeared behind Hin Shen, fierce and ready for battle. Seeing reinforcements, Fan Ho hesitated but calmed himself, thinking they were mere summons. Yet upon closer look, he froze. This third Lo Bing radiated overwhelming power. Rage burned as he swore to kill Shen today. Eyes blazing with hate, he roared, activating his strange left-arm armor pulsing with murderous aura. At once, he summoned his main weapon, gaze dripping with malice. In his bloodlust, he vowed to crush everyone, and the system revealed his true identity. A new mission appeared: eliminate the brutal mercenary, accept or decline. Recalling his crimes, Shen burned inside, roaring acceptance and ordering extermination. Instantly, the three Lo Bing charged, blades storming so fiercely that Fan Ho grimaced. The system blared a warning: bone soldier severely injured in combat. Fan Ho triggered berserk mode, landing a devastating blow that flung two Lo Bing aside. Another alert sounded: bone soldier critically damaged. With only a few basic strikes, he erased two Lo Bing, laughing at their weakness. But just as he gloated, the third Lo Bing struck a venomous fatal blow. Furious, Fan Ho screamed from the sneak attack, only for the Lo Bing to vanish mid-counter. He glared at calm Shen. Realizing the weapon's poison was rare and deadly, he resolved to kill Shen before the toxin could take effect. The system reported that maintaining high energy let Shen resummon Lo Bing endlessly. Calmly, Shen gave a short, icy command. Go. Two new Lo Bing appeared instantly, ready to fight by his side. Fan Ho froze, stunned that Shen could resummon after a wipeout. He roared in madness, vowing to tear apart those toy soldiers in seconds. Shen sighed, palm to forehead, muttering, strength means nothing. His expression unchanged, he declared a brutal fight with no escape. Though uneasy, Fan Ho forced defiance, shouting back in fury. Shen signaled, and the Lo Bing unleashed a storm of blade energy like crashing waves. Mid-counter, Fan Hu's shield suddenly cracked, making him falter. From the battlefield's edge, the stewardess gasped, horrified as her scheme unraveled. She trembled, staring at Shen, unable to believe his power had grown beyond all measure. In desperate rage, she swore to flee at any cost, even over others' corpses. Shen seized the moment, leaping high toward Fan Hai like an arrow of judgment. The foe hastily raised his shield, activating maximum defense. Wasting no chance, Shen unleashed his ultimate piercing slash. Shattering the barrier, Fan Ho stammered in terror as paralysis from the poison set in. Before he could react, a Lo Bing lunged forward, locking him in place. Another Lo Bing clamped down on Fan Hu's head, gripping both horns and immobilizing him completely. Panicking, Fan Ho screamed for mercy, cursing Shen as a reckless fool. He roared threats, flaunting his rank in the Dongbing regiment, warning of dire consequences. Shen cut him short with the silent but lethal move vengeance slash. Even decapitated, Fan Hu's eyes stayed wide, unable to believe his swift defeat. He died under Shen's icy gaze, the last sight, a blade-sharp stare devoid of emotion. Shen turned away quietly, leaving the arrogant corpse to vanish into the night forever. The system announced mission success. Both Master and Bone soldiers gained new power levels. Glancing at his hands, Shen smiled faintly. He had ascended to a stronger realm. He eyed the newly upgraded Lo Bing, a Normer brawler and two orb sorcerers radiating might. Fully equipped, all three exuded an overwhelming aura that dominated the battlefield. Shen approached Fan Hu's corpse. The system prompted acquire high-grade battle armor. Without hesitation, he confirmed the collection command. A dark mist rose from the body. The system was processing the armor. One Lo Bing donned the new armor, standing like a war god incarnate. The system demanded a name for the upgraded Lo Bing. Shen grumbled in annoyance. Time passed as battle memories resurfaced. Reading the Jiang family's book, he sought inspiration. Thinking of the tactic Xian Deng, the first soldier to breach walls, he named his fastest Lo Bing Xian Deng. From then, Xian Deng became the model warrior, swift, fierce, a whirlwind breaker of defenses. Next, he named the defensive Lo Bing Zhen, the wall of steel charging through enemy lines. On the battlefield, such vanguards decide wars, killing leaders or seizing critical intel. When the smoke clears, they stand tall among corpses, raising the victory banner. Capturing it alone can shatter enemy morale. Remembering these titles, Shen told the remaining two unnamed soldiers to wait, then ordered them to guard the unconscious Dai Shen and melt into the shadows. From afar, the stewardess muttered, "Total failure." She gnashed her teeth, eyes blazing, losing not only her wealth but also the assassin's payment. Terrified for her life, she fled, muttering about surviving first and stealing later. But as she turned to run, a cold blade touched her throat, halting her escape. It was Xian Deng, who had detected and intercepted her with lightning speed. A clean strike dropped her face first, motionless, too stunned to comprehend. Shen approached slowly, eyes cold as frost, making her tremble and cry for mercy. Sobbing and sniveling, she blamed everything on the armored thug, begging to be spared, pretending to be weak. She begged softly, claiming she was forced and powerless. Seeing through the cheap act, Shen smirked. He wasn't a gullible child. Mistaking the smile for mercy, she wept harder, promising loyalty and repentance. Shen stayed silent, eyes thoughtful, weighing mercy against judgment. The silence unnerved her. She cursed him inwardly for not being swayed. In despair, She knelt, vowing to leave the Han family forever and never return. Han Shen sighed disdainfully, coldly replying that only one thing she said was true: she deserved death. In his mind, two thoughts wrestled after so many years in Han Manor. Could she still hide more threats? Perhaps investigation first. Suddenly, Xiandeng struck, slicing her down before Han Shen finished deciding. Watching her collapse, eyes empty, Han Shen froze in stunned silence. He roared furiously, the sound shaking the forest. Scolding Xiandeng for interrupting, Xiandeng turned away and began drawing something, puzzling Han Shen completely. It turned out Xiandeng had mistaken his words as an execution command and documented it. Reading it, Han Shen burst out laughing but fumed at how ugly he looked in the sketch. Unable to resist, he kicked Xiandeng flying, yelling about the terrible portrait. Rubbing his forehead, he sighed his soldiers still misunderstood orders and needed retraining. The scene shifted to lush meadows bursting with life. Han Shen gently carried his foster mother home, worried though her health was recovering. As he pondered, she awoke in confusion, asking where they were, making him smile and answer softly. She shook her head, voice wary, saying she remembered nothing. Her eyes suddenly brightened with emotion when he called her mother. Han Shen repeated the word, reaffirming his bond. She tried to walk, but he insisted on carrying her. At last, they returned to Han Manor, greeted by cheering servants. Hearing the news, his foster father rushed out, calling his wife's name in relief. When he asked with concern, she calmly replied that she was hungry. Half laughing, half worried, he pressed about injuries, but she only said she wanted meat. A man then appeared, introducing himself as Su Ziyu, seeking to investigate the incident. Han Shen was shocked. His foster father explained had reported to the authorities and noted the missing stewardess. Just as Han Shen turned to leave, Su Ziyu stepped forward, staring intently and questioning the impurity around him. Han Shen froze, baffled by what nonsense the man was implying. Su Ziyu waved his hand, conjuring light, and sternly demanded the hidden presence reveal itself or be banished. Seeing the man ready a serious strike, Han Shen panicked, lost in confusion. Suddenly, a familiar voice called from behind, making him spin around in shock. A calm man emerged from a watery reflection. Offended by being called filthy, he was Zhong Yuanjing, a teacher from the academy. Seeing Zhong Yuanjing appear, Su Ziyuan seemed to grasp the situation, admitting he'd sensed hidden energy but hadn't known whose. Then asked why he was there. Zhong Yuanjing explained the dean had secretly assigned him to protect Han Shen during the break after a prior academy incident. Hearing that, Han Shen panicked, blurting out to confirm he'd been watched all this time. Zhong Yuanjing chuckled, teasing that he'd seen all of Han Shen's little secrets. Han Shen froze, realizing his skeleton soldier's secret might have been exposed. Su Ziyu joked about Zhong Yuanjing's previous injury from peeking at bathers, making him blush and beg for dignity. As their banter continued, Su Ziyu suddenly stopped to answer a colleague's call. He stepped aside seriously to take the call. Han Shen grew curious while Zhong Yuanjing guessed something urgent had happened. Han Shen wondered if eavesdropping on others was some kind of skill. Zhong Yuanjing pointed the device in Su's hand, explaining it was a gyre, a long-distance communication artifact made by the academy. Playing teacher, he detailed its features: call, disconnect, telepathic dialing, and call rejection. Impressed, Han Shen smiled, comparing it to Bluetooth technology. Mid-chat, Su Ziyuan abruptly left, waving goodbye to handle a distant natural disaster. In a flash, he shot into the sky before he vanished. Zhong Yuanjing requested to let Han Shen follow for field learning, which was granted. Han Shen looked up in awe at their flight like celestial beings. Seeing his wonder, Yuanjing gently explained that was a power reserved for Dragon King level, and above Han Shen needed training. Before he could reply, Yuanjing grabbed his hand and soared upward, promising just a short demonstration. Flying for the first time, Han Shen's eyes widened in shock. Books had never prepared him for this, and he realized how little he knew. Soon they reached a vast, breathtaking lake. Su Ziyuan landed, stating briefly that this seemed the right spot. After touching down, he surveyed the wrecked boats nearby. Yuanjing noted they might be remains of a disaster. Clenching his fists, Su Ziyuan raged that villages around the lake were annihilated, likely by a creature lurking below. His words sent chills down Han Shen's spine, filling him with dread. He stepped closer, spotting a floating hand, then dismembered bodies of both humans and beasts beneath the water. Frowning, Han Shen wondered if these were leftovers from the Calamity's feast. Unmoved, Su Ziyuan replied that calamities don't eat. Killing is instinct, they only spare their own kind. Grinding his teeth, Han Shen cursed that such monsters were worse than beasts. Troubled by the floating hand, Su Ziyuan hesitated, unsure how to retrieve it since he lacked water combat skills. Amid the confusion, Yuanjing spoke cautiously, offering an idea. Scanning the lake, he hesitated, warning his plan might be terrible. Just then, an old wooden barrel drifted by. Han Shen ended up sitting on it, bobbing like bait, internally mourning his tragic fate. Watching his student used as bait, Su Ziyuan grimaced, but Yuanjing reassured him they'd protect the boy. Calm-faced, Han Shen gazed ahead, certain the enemy would soon be dragged into the light. He suddenly remembered his army couldn't fight underwater, a critical weakness that worried him. Lost in thought, Han Shen felt the water below surge violently, He fixed his eyes on the lake's surface as a massive shadow slowly emerged. The barrel he sat on had drifted straight into the lair of Xiang Tan, a terrifying calamity beast. Realizing danger was near, Henshin sprang upward, dodging a deadly bite by inches. Seeing the other two unmoved, he wondered if they really meant to let him handle the monster alone. Guessing they wanted to test him, he gripped his weapon tightly, ready to fight. He told himself this was the perfect time to test his new strength and dove down, summoning his armor to strike the lake beast. His thrust pierced the slimy hide, then one of its eyeballs burst in a gruesome splash. The horrific scene chilled everyone as the aquatic monster thrashed and screamed in agony. Henshin pressed on, driving his weapon deeper, blood staining the water crimson. Using the recoil, he leapt back to land, landing smoothly like a seasoned warrior. Pleased with his position, he extended his hands forward, golden energy flaring bright around them. Then he deactivated the weapon still lodged in the monster's body. In a blink, he summoned a new sword and shining armor, his aura blazing with might. From afar, Yuan Jing noted the calamity didn't seem high-ranked, its traces were faint. Su Ziyuan countered, suspecting it to be a 6th-tier human king beast far above a freshman's level. The lake monster roared in fury, lunging out of the water to swallow Henshin whole. Alarmed, Su Ziyuan urged Yuan Jing to intervene, fearing Henshin wouldn't last. But Yuan Jing stayed calm, smiling in faith that his student would prevail. And indeed, Henshin stood his ground, fearless before the monstrous threat. He summoned his Lo Bing squad, armored warriors materializing to strike in unison. Su Ziyuan couldn't hide his astonishment at Henshin's sudden display of power. The Lu Bing fought flawlessly, hitting the beast's weak points and making it roar in pain. Xian Deng unleashed a venomous combo attack, driving the monster mad as it whipped its tail in rage. A support unit behind them raised their hands, casting healing light to restore allies. Su Ziyuan pointed excitedly, shouting that even top summoners could only call 2 beasts. This was unprecedented. Yuan Jing chuckled, nodding, admitting he too was astonished the first time he saw it. Though outwardly calm, he pondered what hidden potential Henshin's low-grade armor still held. Then the water beast inhaled deeply, charging up a lethal attack. But before it could strike, Xian Deng fired his left core cannon. A blinding blast of light at the target. 2 Lo Bing nearby froze, and the monster abruptly turned, lunging toward the healer group on the left flank. At that moment, Henshin dashed forward, shielding his comrades from the blow. A deafening explosion shook the air, smoke and dust engulfing everything in chaos. Henshin coolly raised his hand, issuing a command with eyes sharp as blades. He turned and ordered firmly, "Continue healing. Don't stop, I'll handle the rest." The 2 Lo Bing obeyed instantly, eyes gleaming with admiration. But moments later, both blushed, struck silent with emotion and embarrassment. They hastily raised a cheeky sign reading, "Lord Commander is so handsome. Dying for him is worth it." Henshin promptly smacked them, sternly scolding to focus on duty. He then pointed at the water beast, clearly ordering them to strike its weak spot. This time, Henshin targeted another part of the monster, coordinating with Xian Deng and the squad to corner it. Watching the grand formation, Su Ziyuan was stunned, doubting this was truly a first-year student. Yuan Jing calmly asked his opinion of Henshin, voice steady. Recalling Henshin's decisiveness, Su Ziyuan affirmed he had true leadership potential. Fit to command main battle armor, the lake looked calm, but beneath it raged a brutal life-or-death struggle. 1 Lo Bing sliced clean through the creature's massive tail. At the same time, the frontline squad severed one of its legs. Henshin leapt high, eyes like ice, and with one slash beheaded the beast, ending the fight. Witnessing it all, Su Ziyuan gasped, unable to believe Henshin defeated a higher-tier calamity so easily. In contrast, Henshin remained composed, neither proud nor regretful. Right then, the system interface appeared, calamity slain, 1,000 experience gained, reward Yang treasure. It added that the item could only be used upon reaching Human King level 5. Reading it, Henshin frowned slightly. Level-locked items made the system ever more intriguing. After the battle, he landed softly, golden energy fading as his armor dissolved, revealing his normal form. Suddenly, the monster's body glowed, then vanished into nothing. Turning back, he saw only 2 blue crystals on the ground. Surprised that no corpse remained, picking them up, he examined the orbs, sensing energy unlike the dark aura from before. Then Su Ziyuan and Yuan Jing approached, explaining they were aqua crystals of the war realm. Su Ziyuan added that after a calamity dies, the earth absorbs its essence and crystallizes it for armor enchantment. Not missing the chance, Yuan Jing invited Su Ziyuan to demonstrate enchanting Henshin's weapon. Su asked if he'd lend it. Henshin grinned, teasing with 2 fingers that enchanting was a second-year course, and not everyone had the talent. He certainly didn't. Su Ziyuan suddenly remembered Henshin hadn't paid last time's enchanting fee, scratching his head. Henshin laughed awkwardly, promising to pay next payday. Without another word, Su Ziyuan snatched the weapon and the blue crystals from his hands. His face turned solemn, eyes sharp, focusing deeply as if performing a sacred rite. "I can only enchant weapons," he declared, standing nearby. Henshin felt the powerful energy waves from the crystal. Utterly stunned by the phenomenon, he stared as the crystal melted into the weapon as if guided by sheer will. A blinding blue light flared, forcing him to squint to see what was happening. When it was over, Xiaowen tossed the weapon back, saying the process was done and the loadier crystal only boosted durability. Catching it, Han Shen instantly sensed the change: heavier, sturdier, stronger. The system confirmed weapon imbued with fortitude enchantment, 50 thickness, 30 sharpness. Gazing at the blade, Han Shen mused how strong his armor would be if every part were enchanted like this. Reading his mind, Xia Yuan calmly explained that higher-grade spirit stones could add more attributes, but only after defeating stronger disasters or paying a hefty price. At the mention of money, Han Shen smirked, eyes gleaming. No cash, then borrow from family. The ancients were right. That evening, Han Shen returned to the Han estate and bluntly asked his parents for money. His father exploded, demanding to know why he suddenly needed so much. Faced with fury, Han Shen smiled nervously, begging his father to let him explain. The sound of whipping followed. Luckily, his mother intervened, forced his father to hand over the money, and told him to be thrifty. Han Shen gratefully accepted. Unexpectedly, his mother stepped up, eyes gentle but worried, saying there was one condition. She softly warned him never to stray onto the wrong path. Her words warmed Han Shen's heart. He honestly said he only wanted spirit stones to strengthen his armor against calamities. Hearing that, his father burst into laughter, stroking his beard. I thought it was serious. Our Han clan sells spirit stones. Han Shen gawked. Really? His father added proudly. Not just spirit stones, our family owns mines and banks too. Han Shen tried returning the money, but his father refused, warmly saying the fortune would be his sooner or later. Time flew. Vacation ended, and the story returned to the academy where it all began. On the school steps, Han Shen trudged up, backpack bulging with food, sighing at how his mother stuffed it full. He only meant to take a few spirit stones, but she made him carry half the family fortune. He groaned and accidentally bumped into a man sleeping by the road. As he walked on, a strange sense made him turn back to look for the man. The man had vanished without a trace, leaving Han Shen doubting his own eyes. Just then, a stranger appeared, lightly tapping his bag and grinning. Hey classmate, need help carrying that? Han Shen eyed the outfit warily, instincts flaring. Could this guy be a transmigrator? On the way to school, he shouted in shock when the stranger said he was from the Western Academy. The man nodded, confused by Han Shen's overreaction. Han Shen hurriedly asked, the Western Academy trains armored fighters too? The stranger confirmed, introducing himself as Kun, a first year from the distant Western Academy. He explained that the academy had 3 ranks, and this year all freshmen were summoned to the Eastern branch by teachers' orders. Seeing Han Shen's oversized bag, Kun offered to store it in his personal space. Leaving Han Shen astonished, Kun patiently explained that spatial magic could store objects but not living beings. Han Shen nodded in understanding. In a blink, Kun opened his space and neatly absorbed the bulky bag into his hand. Han Shen gaped as the bag vanished. Unable to hide his shock, Kun calmly said that spatial skills evolve naturally at higher levels and are handy for travel. Han Shen silently vowed to level up fast and gain that ability like Kun. Remembering Kun sleeping by the road, Han Shen asked why Kun groaned that he'd stayed up all night playing cards. The two soon reached the martial arena, where Nankyu had summoned all students to line up. Nankyu sternly announced today's unusual event, her gaze fixed on a group of unfamiliar students. She declared that the academy was welcoming guests from another region. Han Shen looked at the Western students, sensing equal strength, curious about their armors. His eyes shifted to 2 teachers behind Nankyu, especially the woman named Ariel. Ariel looked cold but radiated fierce aura. Han Shen judged her a formidable master. He glanced at the man beside her, sensing no energy and suspecting he was hiding his power. The man stood motionless like a statue, making Han Shen think he might be a top-tier expert, but moments later, he realized the man was simply dozing off. Suddenly, someone poked the man's nose. Huang Yi appeared, teasing up all night gambling again, and the man hastily denied it. Huang Yi kept joking, angering him until Nan Q scolded them to behave before the students. The 2 adults bantered like old friends, their camaraderie obvious. Nan Q, losing patience, urged Jiang to speak since the students were waiting. He adjusted his glasses, his demeanor shifted to one of solemn authority. In a commanding voice, he introduced himself as the librarian Jiang Shangmei, the event's host. The students gasped, unable to believe the absent-minded old man was the dean. Some had even messed with him earlier. Han Shen was dumbfounded, while Sintong beside him just smirked, clearly knowing beforehand. When asked how, Sintong smugly said they were related by blood. Then he joked that he was the dean's grandfather, making everyone groan. Han Shen sighed and stopped him, telling him to quit spouting nonsense. Sintong, still serious, revealed his noble heritage from the Jiang clan, respected even by the dean. He boasted that without such backing, had never become teaching assistant and class leader. He concluded that strength mattered but connections sealed success. Time passed quickly, and night fell over the martial academy. Nankyu announced an alliance mission between the 2 academies, also serving as a promotion exam. Huang Yi interrupted with a cough, warning that those unqualified would be expelled. The courtyard buzzed with anxious chatter as students fretted about the test. Maintaining composure, Huang Yi stated the exam content would be revealed in 3 days. For now, students would train with armors and meet the Holy Sun. At the mention of the Holy Sun, Han Shen trembled slightly, his eyes uneasy. Sintong noticed immediately. As the meeting ended, Neo reminded Huang Yi about the student exchange, Making him freeze mid-step, Huang Yi stepped onto the stage, announcing that top students would study at the Western Academy and revealed himself as Nell, its dean. Nell added that outstanding Western students could also exchange eastward. Huang Yi frowned, annoyed at being upstaged. Below the stage, students buzzed about the chance to study at the Western Academy, home of elite enchanters. One was ecstatic, others fired up, eager to seize the chance to learn top-tier martial techniques. After final instructions, teachers dismissed the students to train freely. Nanqiu, wearing her headset, received urgent news. Her face hardened as she looked at Huang Yi. She announced a high-level anomaly in the northern desert. The entire Dragonkin squad had fallen, and she would handle it personally. Huang Yi fell silent, troubled by the increasing frequency of disasters, a grim omen of chaos to come. Adjusting his glasses, he solemnly told the students he would fight for real this time. The scene shifted to the silent night of the eternal desert. The barren land was lifeless, save for tiny creatures crawling in the dark. A shadow appeared, sending lizards scattering. Huang Yi led Han Shen to the site marked in the report. Sensing Han Shen's doubt, Huang Yi explained this was a lesson to face danger early. Han Shen bent down, finding blood everywhere but no armored corpses. The fresh blood without bodies made Yu Ying question what had the calamity done to erase everything so cleanly. Huang Yi stepped closer, instructing that such disasters were so powerful they were nearly undetectable. He suddenly stomped hard. The shockwave howled, whipping sand into a raging storm. From the cracked dunes rose a massive monster, so terrifying that even light seemed devoured. Han Shen froze, utterly overwhelmed by the creature's unimaginable power. Data flashed. Its attack power was extreme, defense and toxin resistance nearly absolute. Han Shen tried to stay calm but trembled, knowing one fight meant certain death. Luckily, Huang Yi ordered him to fall back. This wasn't his battle. He signaled Han Shen to retreat and simply observe. Suddenly, his aura erupted violently, shaking the very air, warning Han Shen to stand still and watch. Han Shen gawked in awe at the torrent of energy radiating from him. Huang Yi donned a flaming skull-marked armor, exuding pure killing intent, slowly unsheathing his massive blade. He looked like a war god reborn. The system flashed Suo armor. Grade grants insane speed. Han Shen glanced at the weapon system note. Twin enchanted blades absorb enemy power temporarily. Seizing the moment, Huang Yi shot forward like lightning toward the calamity's gaping jaws. His eyes gleamed sharp as knives, burning with iron will. With swift, fluid strikes, Huang Yi carved arcs of light that shredded the beast like silk under a master's hand. From afar, Han Shen shuddered at the sheer dominance of the display. The once-dreaded monster was now scattered remains beneath the sand. Han Shen stood in awe of that terrifying strength. Seeing Han Shen still not retreating, Huang Yi warned him calmly. As if he'd just crushed an ant, he lifted his gaze to the sky, eyes locking on an unseen threat above. Suddenly, a shadow appeared, a winged reptilian hybrid radiating hidden power. It sneered, three blooded eyes blazing. The system screamed in alert humanoid calamity. Nightmare level. From above, the tried beast watched them like a predator savoring its prey. Huang Yi looked intrigued, thrilled to face such a formidable creature. Han Shen stood frozen under its dreadful stare, mind racing, fully aware he was powerless. The tried calamity attacked first, its aura like heaven's hammer crashing down. Han Shen panicked as the threat closed in, feeling the vast gulf between him and the monster. Amid his confusion, Huang Yi barked a sharp order, hold your ground. Gripping his blade, eyes blazing, he declared he'd unleash the golden blade's killing strike. The immense force he radiated reassured Han Shen somewhat, though even a tremor of that power pressed like a mountain, proof of the Celestial warrior's supremacy. Just as Huang Yi prepared to strike, the tried beast chanted strange words that echoed ominously. In a flash, the creature vanished, leaving both men staring in shock. The eerie sound lingered. Huang Yi froze, muttering in awe at this unheard-of phenomenon. Even after 2 lifetimes, Han Shen was speechless before the empty void where it disappeared. Seeing it escape, Huang Yi dispelled his killing aura, remarking that the creature's language remained an unsolved enigma. His words steadied Han Shen, whose eyes now burned with renewed resolve. He quietly said he might have understood the creature's words, stunning Huang Yi beyond belief. The scene shifted instantly. They reappeared in the Eastern Academy's archive pavilion. Huang Yi's familiar office, sitting behind his old wooden desk, Huang Yi calmly asked the two across from him for Nell's thoughts on the matter. Nell adjusted his glasses, replying that the West too had seen a powerful calamity equal in strength but evasive, stirring grave concern. After a sip of tea, Nell's gaze sharpened. Huang Yi sternly told Han Shen to repeat everything the monster had said. Han Shen recalled it clearly. The creature warned that the time to act had not come yet, but once awakened, humanity would be wiped out. Nell's eyes glinted with suspicion, suggesting there was an even greater force behind it, one whose awakening time was unknown and terrifying. Stroking his beard grimly, Huang Yi said it could be 10 years or less, so the truth must be hidden to prevent global panic. As the two pondered, Han Shen suddenly requested access to the Academy's combat forge for 3 days to train until fear itself fled. Hearing this, Huang Yi thought carefully, realizing the arena was empty since students were away on group drills. Night fell as Han Shen stood alone in the forest clearing, ready for a brutal cultivation session ahead. He stood still, ensuring no one was around, then gave a low, commanding call to begin. Instantly, 4 skeletal soldiers appeared behind him, their aura cold as ice. Heng Shen clenched his fists, admitting his weakness with shame, then sternly ordered the skeletons to fight at full power. He looked straight ahead, commanding non-stop combat for 3 full days. At the signal, he activated his armor, its glow majestic as he roared to start training. From above, Nell watched with interest, while Huang Yai sighed, pitying Heng Shen's youth and fearing time was running out for the world. He added grimly that high-level armored warriors were dwindling, and the weak must be culled to preserve precious resources. Watching the young man below, Huang Yai silently placed his hopes on him, whispering for Heng Shen to stay strong. Meanwhile, Heng Shen remained fully focused, endlessly sparring with his skeletal troops. Suddenly sensing killing intent, he spun around, eyes sharp as blades, locking on the ambusher. It was Xiandang, frozen in fear, retreating quickly. Heng Shen sighed in disappointment, shouting that as long as they lived, they must fight at full strength. Cowards deserved no mercy. His fierce aura terrified the skeletons, sending them scattering. Without hesitation, Heng Shen chased them, thinking they were perfect sparring partners. Dead ones could be resummoned, the injured could be healed. He fought relentlessly, drenched in sweat, his combat skill sharpening through endless clashes. He vowed to summon more skeletons once he mastered control, raising his training difficulty. Surrounded, he moved with agility and precision, each chaotic fight becoming priceless experience. Bloodied and battered, Heng Shen stood firm. The pain reminded him why he fought to protect those he loved from extinction. Every moment, he trained harder, walking the razor's edge between life and death. After 3 brutal days, deep in the forest, he and his troops continued their relentless regimen. Heng Shen emerged radiating power. The system congratulated him, armor upgraded and spatial shift unlocked, and asked if had opened the reward chest. Grinning brightly, he confirmed, mumbling had nearly forgotten, then commanded activation. At once, the forest around him blazed with light as the system engaged. A glittering chest materialized, stunning him with anticipation. At last, his long-awaited reward had arrived. The system announced had obtained Crimson Stallion speed, a mighty warhorse skill boosting attack and movement for a short burst. He laughed in delight, claiming it outclassed even his grandpa's speed talisman used right. It could dominate any battle. The system wasn't done. It granted 100 Frost Orb infantry, thrilling him further. Then came another 100 Frost Orb siege troops, leaving him ecstatic, pleased. He calculated now he had infantry, siege units, and mages. Only cavalry and ranged troops remained for perfection. As his thoughts settled, he gazed at the crimson sunset overhead, heart heavy with unease about the coming exam. The scene shifted suddenly, placing him in the perilous core of the Daofeng battlefield. Cold and desolate, a deep cavern loomed ahead, like a bottomless abyss devouring all light. From the darkness came heavy footsteps and a voice inhuman and eerie. A monstrous calamity emerged, cursing furiously, making nearby beasts shrink in terror. With eyes closed, it walked through the dark, seething with hatred for the world and humankind, wondering why such vile beings still existed. Stopping before a glowing, sinister egg, it whispered a cruel vow to wipe out humanity before he awakens. Time flashed forward. The sky brightened over a fresh bamboo forest. Examinees surged ahead, determined not to be left behind. Even Kun grew serious, shouting for students to hurry since the timed exam had to end before nightfall. He sighed regretfully, wishing he'd reached Dragon King rank to teleport instead of run. Noticing Heng Shen's absence, he asked Bao Zi, who said their class leader was still behind. Bao Zi added that Heng Shen had a special task and would join them later. The answer made Kun uneasy. What was the Eastern Academy hiding? The day faded fast, and night once again cloaked the bamboo woods. A sudden voice beside Heng Shen made him tense. It was Sin Tong, claiming an assignment from Elder Jiang. Sin Tong, thrilled, boasted that he'd been specially chosen, laughing proudly like a man awaiting his reward. But soon he grumbled about having to carry Heng Shen, scolding him for training nonstop for 3 days straight. The scene rewound to before departure. Principal Huang Yai stood before hundreds of students, eyes sharp as blades. Adjusting his glasses, he announced evenly that all class leaders had been briefed on the exam's details. Ariel and Nanqiu listened intently while the principal continued explaining about the strict judges and harsh grading. Sintong was distracted, imagining his teacher's battle armors, while Heng Shen struggled to stay awake from exhaustion. Before the whole school, the principal declared the Holy Sun had arrived on the continent, but his identity would remain secret during training. He added that when the time came, the Holy Sun's identity would be revealed to all, sparking hope and excitement among the students. Without delay, he raised his hand high, proclaiming that the Holy Sun would lead them against the calamities. His thunderous voice ignited the crowd, students shouting their vow to destroy every enemy. While the teams watched the monsters ahead, Heng Shen was fast asleep in the forest. Kun stayed composed, scanning the field and confirming the mission target had appeared. A massive fortress rose from the desert, encircled by fierce mercenaries. She ordered an assault. Sen Tong quickly reviewed the map and analyzed the terrain. He pointed out a narrow cliff path behind with weak defenses, unlike the heavily guarded main gate. Resolutely, he emphasized the goal was infiltration. Kun suggested splitting forces to distract and flank. Kun voiced concern, proposing the Western Academy handle the frontal attack while the Eastern team circled behind. His words enraged Sen Tong, who accused him of belittling the Eastern Academy, sparking a heated argument. As tension rose between the two sides, Han Shen suddenly spoke up, telling everyone to let him handle the front gate alone. Though he insisted on attacking the front line himself, the group objected immediately, fearing for his life. During the exam, Han Shen calmly thanked both class leaders for their help but hinted there was something he couldn't yet reveal. Akun and Sin Tong urged him to explain quickly they could allow him to throw his life away. Saying nothing more, Han Shen merely signaled that something surprising was about to happen. At that moment, an enormous army silently appeared behind him, standing like statues. Sin Tong staggered back in shock. Unable to believe what he was seeing, Kun went pale, trembling as she stammered what were those things. Unfazed, and Shen explained they were troops he had summoned through his armor, completely under his control. He added calmly that he still had many hidden cards and promised no one would be harmed, asking permission to take the front lines alone. Hearing this, Kun and Sin Tong fell silent, their eyes now filled with newfound respect. Nearby in the shadows, a spy from Yunjing secretly listened, uneasy at what he'd witnessed. He shivered, remembering Yunjing's puppets and Shen's armor looked eerily similar, sparking suspicion that he was tied to the young master's death. Torn by doubt, the spy wondered if he should sell this intel to the Song clan after the exam for profit. The scene shifted to a sealed fortress. Tightly guarded and impenetrable, a minor officer appeared, shouting at lazy soldiers to stay sharp since they were being paid. Grumbling, he cursed his luck stuck guarding this gloomy place with a bunch of useless rookies. As a low-ranking official, he hesitated. His family urged him to return home and run their small business, though they barely scraped by. Patrolling aimlessly, he brooded over the worsening calamities plaguing the common folk. Muttering bitterly, he thought the world was falling into chaos. There was no escape for ordinary men like him. Suddenly, he spotted someone approaching the fortress gate and barked a warning to halt. Looking closer at the uniform, he realized it belonged to the Eastern Academy and wondered what the visitor's purpose was. A chill ran down his spine. Had the city's secret been leaked? Was everything compromised? Getting no response, the officer shouted angrily, demanding to know Han Shen's intent. Han Shen simply smiled faintly, greeted him politely, and declared, "I'm here to take the fortress." His words froze everyone in stunned silence. Then the troops burst into laughter, their mocking eyes treating him like a fool. Unmoved by ridicule, Han Shen's face stayed cold as he gave the summon command. Instantly, skeletal warriors surged up behind him, their aura thundering like a storm. The officer's grin vanished. He froze, speechless with terror. A legion of undead stood before them, horrifyingly real, driving him into panic and disbelief. He shouted orders for his men to alert the fortress generals and stop the ambush. Then he raised his hand, ready to unleash punishment and crush the arrogance before him. Activating his level 6 battle armor, he blazed with overwhelming aura. Sure his foe would regret everything, his smile turned into killing intent. Daring Han Shen to see how long he could last, Han Shen walked calmly, eyes cold with contempt, rage rising as he recalled his parents' betrayer. Glancing at the bamboo forest behind, he sighed, thinking the students must be ready by now. Indeed, in the forest, teams of students had arranged their strategy. Prepared for battle, the decisive moment came. He advanced with one rule: leave no one alive. A dry mist warrior raised a torch, burning down everything in their path. Commander Lu Bing gave the order. The army instantly launched fiery missiles at the walls. The system roared as siege and encirclement skills activated, turning the flames and explosions into a hellish storm. Seeing that, the minor officer went pale, trembling and whispering, "Mom, I want to go home." Explosions thundered across the sky, turning the fortress into uncontrollable chaos. Soldiers were torn apart by the brutal blasts, screaming in thick smoke. Even the minor officer was hit, his body wounded, terrified by Han Shen's weaponry. As his body was shredded, he couldn't comprehend that monstrous power, only despairing for angering an unstoppable force. Suddenly, his eyes widened, as if realizing something terrifying. He froze in fear. The skeletal soldiers had already climbed the walls. "They're already up here." He shuddered, defeat flooding his limbs as he sensed Xian Deng's power. Could that guy be even stronger than me? Regret twisted his thoughts. If only he hadn't been so stubborn. Should've listened to Mom, he muttered, biting back sorrow and terror. Suddenly, a massive explosion shook the entire fortress into wild chaos. Xian Deng struck like a storm, wiping out the defenders in seconds. The system recorded the feat, granting Han Shen 200 experience points for slaying the enemy commander. Han Shen watched his troops climb the walls with flawless coordination. As if trained for centuries, he suddenly remembered the earlier notifications and laughed. Had forgotten his rewards while enjoying the show. The system kept updating, reporting that the skeleton soldiers had slain foes and earned rewards. Another wave came. Each skeleton brought back steady experience. The rapid notifications thrilled Han Shen. His armor leveled up, his body surging with power. Grinning brightly, he thought if his troops kept fighting, he could level up even in his sleep, an idea that thrilled him. As he mused, a rumble rose. The siege engines charged forward, starting the next assault. The massive dragon hammer smashed the gates instantly, its impact shaking the entire zone. Han Shen watched in silence, amazed and impressed by his siege troops' unexpected prowess. His eyes swept over enemy corpses, smiling as his XP climbed. Soon the front gate would be cleared. standing tall in the dusk. Henshin smirked arrogantly, murmuring, "Come on then, you're all just XP to me." The dragon hammer in his hand smashed the wall nonstop, shattering the defenses like madness unleashed. Stones crumbled, the gate flattened, then suddenly exploded, blasting skeleton soldiers away. Henshin froze, confusion rising. What on earth just happened? Heavy footsteps echoed within, followed by a thunderous, angry voice. From the shadows emerged a burly giant, the front gate general, his cold eyes cutting into Henshin with disdain. Pointing straight at him, the man sneered threateningly, scolding Henshin's crew for ruining his post-drinking nap. Henshin narrowed his eyes, sensing this foe was no mere general but one stalling for reinforcements. Behind the fortress, a hand gripped the wall. Someone was silently climbing up from the rear gate. Kentang led her students over the cliff, signaling them to close, and her eyes gleamed as the plan unfolded smoothly. Kun stood calm as still water, noting the area was oddly quiet, likely the guards had moved to the front. Seeing the gate heavily enchanted, the group advanced. Kentang frowned, unsure how to dispel it. She suggested two of them activate battle armor to boost their destructive power. They planned to blow the gate open together, hoping to carve a path inside, but before they could act, the rear gate swung open on its own, stunning them. "Alert!" Kentang shouted a warning, ordering everyone to take defensive stance. From the darkness stepped a small figure, voice feigning innocence but dripping sarcasm, revealing the guards were already gone. A creepy old man appeared, the reargate mercenary general, mocking and taunting the students caught in his trap. Back at the front gate, Henshin faced the bronze-muscled general, who furiously demanded to know why students had come. Henshin coolly replied with a smirk, "Just here for a little siege fun." His words ignited the general's rage. The man roared insanely, ready to crush the insolent brat. The general grinned wickedly, reaching out time to reveal his true monstrous form. Layoma activated Azure Dragon Mode, armor flaring and aura surging. Vaughn annihilate every foe. Henshin looked amused by the transformation, confidently remarking that his troops would love that shiny armor. Without hesitation, he donned his radiant armor, gripping his weapon, treating the general as his next stepping stone. The general grew serious, intrigued that Henshin dared to challenge him despite lower rank. Henshin smiled mysteriously, declaring he wasn't alone, his army still had his back. Instantly, his soldiers stormed forward like a raging tide, pressing relentless assault. Unfazed, the general swung his weapon, shaking the ground and mocking them as useless no matter their numbers. With only a few moves, he crushed the entire enemy force, flaunting overwhelming power. The system warned of massive troop losses, urging Henshin to activate new weaponry. Calm amid chaos, Henshin analyzed the battlefield and planned troop redeployment. He kept a few key soldiers while sending the rest to block reinforcements. As he pondered, the general charged in with killing intent. Mocking his dazed look, the weapon slammed down, shaking the ground. Henshin dodged just in time. The general sneered, calling him a doll with no real combat skill. Mocking his jump, then he unleashed a new strike that tore the air apart, a sonic wave surging wildly. Henshin staggered from the direct hit, retreating several steps. Unable to react in time, the shockwave sliced at him endlessly, pain racking his body beyond anything he'd known. Exhausted, he stared in despair as the ground cracked beneath his feet. High above, two observers watched. Ariel wondered if a rank 6 human king could face a dragon king. Nankyu calmly replied the Holy Sun wouldn't last 3 moves if this continued. Ariel tried to stay composed, saying they could intervene if needed, though worry showed on her face. She mused that the headmaster was testing the Holy Sun's endurance and mentioned trouble brewing. At the rear gate, at the back gate, Kentang's team faced a cunning old general, aged, yet deadly dangerous. He suddenly transformed, aura surging, boasting that his level 9 armor would crush them fast. Now like death itself, he roared that coffins were for the weak, not the old, and charged. Kentang stayed steady, saying they'd never truly known what awaited inside. Without hesitation, he activated Human King armor, warning allies to conserve strength as his light flared. Beside him, Acker watched, realizing how vital teamwork would be for breaching the inner city. While he pondered, Kun turned back and suggested they join forces against the old general. Surprising Kentang, snapping to focus, he shifted stance, apologizing for zoning out, declaring readiness to fight. With surging energy, Kentang charged in, transforming into a mighty warrior clad in gleaming level 4 armor. Both shouted in unison, officially launching their assault. The old general laughed arrogantly, mocking that they were far beneath his level. The scene cut swiftly to the inner city's core. A soldier rushed in panic, reporting that both gates were under siege by East and West academies. He knelt, begging the Lord to retreat for safety, startling his master. At that moment, the Lord was choking 2 young women, grinning wickedly, mocking the academies for interrupting his fun. His face twisted with madness as he threatened a gruesome fate to any who interfered. Axian meant thick black smoke rose skyward, an omen of impending disaster. Amid the battle, Henshin was lucky several healer skeletons reached him in time, his eyes gleaming in quiet satisfaction. The front gate general looked stunned, unable to fathom how Henshin was still standing. While he was distracted, a figure crept up silently from behind. Xiao Deng suddenly unleashed a flurry of deadly blows, pouring all his power into the general's unguarded back. The system instantly warned that the enemy was too strong, poison skills useless, and the general's grin showed had expected that. He spun around, eyes icy, unleashing a brutal counterstrike aimed straight at Xiao Deng. One blow, Xiao Deng collapsed and vanished. The system reported he could be summoned again due to low energy. The system asked Hen Shen if he wanted to summon more skeletons to block rear reinforcements. Hen Shen refused, eyes firm, and handled this himself without relying on troops. After wiping out the skeletons, the general sneered, taunting Hen Shen to surrender for a clean death. He growled that a mere human king could never match the power of a dragon king. Hen Shen calmly retorted that every weapon, no matter how mighty, has a weakness. Without delay, he activated the system skill Scarlet Steed Speed, launching a surprise move. A golden light engulfed him midair as Hen Shen declared that speed would be the key to victory. The ground quaked. Energy spiraling upward had reached the velocity of a mythical armored saint. The general was stunned, unable to comprehend how a weaker foe could radiate such pressure. A thunderous blast rang out and Shen dashed forward like lightning, leaving no time to react. His phantom-fast strikes made the enemy's weapon quake, only a few more hits from breaking. Feeling the surge of power, Hen Shen praised his demonic halberd's endurance, vowing to claim the full set one day. Furious at the reversal, the general trembled with rage, charging again like a storm, but Hen Shen was elusive as a shadow, suddenly appearing above, catching him off guard. The general countered with a deafening sonic attack, mocking Hen Shen for flying up again. Yet as Hen Shen kept vanishing from sight, his fury and confusion only grew. Surrounded by countless afterimages, the general lost all sense of direction, dread rising at Hen Shen's overwhelming might. Just as he faltered, Hen Shen appeared behind him, taking the upper hand. The general smirked, thinking he'd spotted an opening, but before he could strike, Hen Shen cleaved him in two. In his dying moment, he couldn't believe a human king possessed god-tier power. Even in death, he carried the unanswered question of Hen Shen's true identity. The system instantly logged the victory, awarding 3,000 XP and a new skeleton soldier. Hen Shen looked at the newcomer and smiled faintly in welcome. The system asked if he wished to reclaim the armor had just obtained. He chuckled softly. Did it really need to ask something so obvious? Without hesitation, he confirmed, absorbing the enemy's armor and transferring it to the skeleton. The skeleton donned its new gear, aura flaring as the system confirmed the upgrade. Hen Shen pondered a name, choosing Zhanjiang to signify a slayer of enemy commanders. The name was approved. The system announced that Zhanjiang gained a 5 critical boost. Hen Shen's expression darkened, torn over how to use the remaining duration of his speed skill. Thinking fast, he realized there wasn't enough time to aid the rear gate, but a daring idea formed within him. With divine speed, Hen Shen dashed toward the inner city, determined to carve a path of breakthrough. The scene shifted to the grand hall within the city, a vast chamber shrouded in mystery. A man set down his wine cup, his voice laced with doubt that his secret might have been discovered. The inner lord spoke coldly, confirming the 2 girls before him were the ones had sought for decades. Suddenly, he gripped one girl's delicate face, eyes gleaming with vile lust and malice. His disgusting tongue flicked out, terrifying the girl until she trembled uncontrollably. He growled about beginning dual cultivation immediately, his words torture as his hands closed in on the helpless maidens. The pervert laughed arrogantly, shamelessly stripping down while the young girls shook in utter panic. The story cut to behind the ancient fortress, where battle tension had reached its peak. A massive weapon struck the ground, its killing aura freezing everything nearby. The reargate general gripped his weapon, sneering that no one would pass him today. His arrogance infuriated Kentong, while Kun snapped, saying, "No more talk, just fight." Kun formed a protective barrier, sealing off space to keep other students safe. The sudden field startled Kentong, who glanced over in confusion, but Kun signaled for trust. All 3 vanished from sight, leaving no trace behind. The remaining students froze, baffled, until Nai reassured them it was the captain's secret technique. Encouraged, they all charged toward the inner city, shouting in unison to boost morale. Inside the silent realm, the old general stood before a strange citadel, confused as to where it had been taken. Kentong too looked puzzled, asking Kun about the place, and learned it existed outside any real dimension. They were now in a mind-forged arena, isolated from reality and beyond the flow of time. Kun explained their combat power was boosted by 30, with death being absolutely final. Excited, the general roared that it'd kill all 3 and then slaughter the outer defenders. The scene snapped back to the grand hall, where the city lord continued his vile act. He sneered at the trembling girl on the bed, mocking her futile resistance like prey cornered. Laughing madly, he jeered that no one could resist the drug's power. Unashamed, he lunged forward with grotesque threats. The girls frozen in ultimate terror. Without pretense, he dove in, muttering that forced pleasure was dull but waiting was worse. A flash of light split the room and Shen's weapon struck, cutting off his depraved act. Blocked, the lord roared in rage, swatting the weapon aside as if crushing a bothersome fly. The weapon embedded deep into the floor, shaking the hall violently from his blow. And Shen stepped forward, eyes sharp as blades, declaring no man had the right to abuse the weak. Without pause, he mocked the lord as a sick lowlife and declared the enemy forces already annihilated. The man sneered, eyeing Henshen like a new toy, muttering lewd remarks about his looks. Fury surged within Henshen as he faced the perverse monster before him. The man grabbed the two weak girls, mocking that resistance was futile against the drug. He shifted focus, saying he'd have his fun with Henshen first, then deal with the girls later. Henshen clenched his fists, rage burning but mind razor sharp. Without hesitation, the brute slapped one girl hard, flaunting his cruel dominance. He struck the other two, leaving both unconscious and crumpled in pain. He coldly vowed to finish them after killing Henshen, then strode forward. His raised hands seemed to tear the very air, the pressure suffocatingly heavy. Henshen instinctively stepped back, sensing this was the strongest foe it ever faced. The man stomped down, the hall booming like thunder. In an instant, he donned terrifying armor the legendary Tier 4 Dragon King set becoming a war god. With arrogant eyes, he mocked Henshen that regret now was far too late. He ranted about ancient myths, claiming his armor embodied the second son of the Dragon Clan. Beast of rage, madness flared in his gaze as he laughed maniacally, swearing to vent a lifetime's wrath on weak little Henshen. Henshen's eyes darkened, calmly calculating strategy against a foe 8 levels higher while all his skills were on cooldown. The story cut back to the Grand Hall, moments before the decisive duel. The city lord advanced, gripping his weapon, taunting that it was a shame to kill someone so handsome. Facing Henshen, he coldly declared that merging with the Xuanyan body mattered more than the boy's life. Despite his bulk, he leapt like the wind, closing in with a deadly swing. Yet Henshen didn't flinch, calmly replying that everyone meets death eventually. The thunderous strike tore through the air, but Henshen stood unmoved, unshaken. Then, mysterious hands emerged from the void, startling the city lord into panic. He screamed in disbelief, truly terrified by what he saw. Yuan Jing appeared, eyes sharp as blades, shattering the foe's weapon effortlessly without even donning armor. Seeing the tide turn, the city lord stumbled back, voice trembling, demanding to know who he was and why he hadn't sensed him. Yuan Jing stepped forward like a descended deity, coldly stating the man was unworthy of that armor. Divine armor enveloped him, radiance booming like thunder and wind, his aura exploding skyward. The city lord quaked, unable to believe the one had scorned bore the mythical holy armor. Yuan Jing vanished in a blink, leaving only a blur of motion. He struck Tiger Wind / roared like a beast, ripping through defenses and hitting the weak spot. One blow sent the foe sprawling, teeth scattering, body crumpled like ragged cloth. After the effortless victory, Yuan Jing turned to Tis and Shen, revealing he'd been secretly watching and stepped in at the perfect moment. The two began sweeping the hall. Yuan Jing told Shen to watch the enemy. He was still useful, then left to find the headmaster. Suspicion glinting in his eyes, Shen muttered softly, gaze complex as he watched Yuan Jing depart. He slowly approached the unconscious foe, checking closely. Shocked, the man lived despite shattered meridians and mocked his former arrogance. With a calm face, Shen asked the system if the armor could be extracted from the body. The system flatly replied it couldn't. Target not fully dead, making Shen suddenly understand. Sitting beside the fallen sinner, he wondered grimly why he didn't just finish him off. Despite doubts, he sensed the man was hiding something ominous. Though tempted to kill him, compassion held him back. He chose to leave it for higher authority. A gentle hand touched his shoulder, startling him. The blonde girl softly spoke, somehow awake again. Then the red-haired girl drew close, whispering seductively, making things even more awkward. Both leaned nearer, pleading sweetly, leaving Henshen flustered and begging them to stop. Despite his protests, they pressed closer. He froze, helpless in the uncomfortable moment. Their light touches panicked him. He stammered, unsure what to do. The system immediately updated, confirming a significant event had just triggered. The story jumped to a ruined ancient arena with a strange name. A mysterious general attacked Kentong and his team from behind. The surprise strike caught Kentong off guard. No time to react. In that perilous instant, Mojun leapt forward. Taking the blow, Kentong cried out his name. Mojun reassured him calmly, saying his armor could endure, and quickly outlined a strategy. As they spoke, the general vanished from sight. Shocking them both, he reappeared behind them, smiling wickedly, mocking their clumsy plan. Kentong reacted fast, striking immediately upon seeing the foe. The general dodged easily, sneering at their weak skills and poor training. Mojun realized the enemy's strength was far beyond expectation. Approach seemed impossible. But as the old general smirked proudly, Mojun suddenly felt his body go strange. He dropped to one knee, clutching his chest. Kentong rushed over Mojun, gas that had been struck. The general ignored questions, calmly beginning a strange tale from the past. He spoke of the battle armor soul, a hybrid of sea goddess and human hero, its body tempered in sacred waters. Yet its ankles were never bathed, leaving a fatal weakness. Smugly, he claimed his life-and-death experience far surpassed those trained in safety. Swinging his weapon with a mocking grin, he declared the current generation weak and hopeless. Provoked, Kentong could no longer hold back. He charged, shouting fiercely while the general met him with eerie calm. The old man dodged easily, sneering with contempt, making every strike useless. Bored, he coldly stated it now in both their lives. Kentong went all out, but the general mocked him for leaving his lower stance exposed. Just then, chains burst from the ground, coiling tightly around the enemy's legs. Locked in place, the old man panicked, realizing he couldn't move. Taking the chance, Kintong gathered energy, raising both hands for his ultimate move. A giant sensor appeared with explosive aura as he made a metaphor about mercenaries' true nature. For the first time, the old general faltered, sensing killing intent and knowing his foe was Alan. Kintong kept mocking him, calling out his empty, pompous preaching. He hurled the massive sensor like passing judgment. The old general paid the price, writhing in disbelief at his defeat. His arms dropped, eyes empty, collapsing in regret for underestimating his foe. The scene shifted backstage, where the rest of the group gathered. In the present, Kintong and team returned. Mojun noticed classmates gone and guessed they'd entered the central zone. While Kintong worried about his friend's wounds, Mojun smiled faintly, saying he could walk but couldn't fight, and fretted for Henshen ahead. Both grew uneasy, suspecting Henshen was in danger, and rushed to assist. Meanwhile, Henshen was in a bizarre, unclassifiable battle even the system couldn't describe. Elsewhere, the O trainees excitedly discussed entering the inner city after clearing enemies. One girl reminded them not to enter the main hall without orders. Another suggested waiting for the captain. Bao Zi felt waiting was useless and volunteered to scout. Others warned her to be cautious. She gently pushed the door, thinking a quick peek wouldn't hurt. But one glance made her blush and tremble. She backed away in shock. She slammed the door shut in panic, hiding what she'd seen. Red as a beet, she stood guard, blocking anyone from entering. A boy asked why her nose was bleeding. Others guessed a hidden master inside, while Baoze stammered speechlessly. Amid the chaos, Hon Di and the instructors arrived, praising the students' victory and lifting morale. A trainee reported a powerful foe inside who even injured Baozi. Hon Di calmly said he'd check himself. As he entered, Baozi suddenly blocked him, trembling and begging him to wait, but Hon Di stayed composed. He reassured her, boasting of his battlefield experience, secretly smug that had already arranged backup. Then Hon Di gently opened the door, eyes cautious and observant. One look froze him. He slammed the door, nose bleeding uncontrollably in horror as he realized things had gone terribly off script. The shocking act left everyone stunned, whispering in disbelief that even the headmaster couldn't handle what was inside. Flustered, Hon Di wiped his nose, forced a stern face, declared the situation complicated, and ordered everyone to retreat. Time flew fast. Just one incense sticks burned past inside the Grand Ming Meng Hall. Henshen still slept soundly, clueless about what had just happened to him. After a long nap, he groggily woke, feeling drained as if his life force had been sucked dry. Seeing him awake, Hon Di suddenly spoke, startling Henshen, then calmly began recounting everything. He added that the two female teachers had been sent to recover and assured Henshen it wasn't his fault. With composure, he revealed he'd been waiting nearby, though secretly blaming the younger generation for being soft. Casually tossing him a set of clothes, he told him to dress up and follow to handle business. Flustered, Henshen turned beatered and stammered an embarrassed yes. Dressed, he confronted the inner city lord, voice stern, making the man tremble and kneel. The man bowed deeply, flattering and thankful to still be alive, promising to answer anything. Hon Di coldly questioned him about the black brocade box once passed among noble clans. Hearing that, the city lord paled, shocked that Hon Di knew such a secret. Stammering that only elders could access it, he quickly offered to consult the clan elders and hand it over if that's all Hon Di wanted. But Hon Di saw through the lie, revealing the elder was dead and the box already with him, scolding him for underestimating the academy's intelligence. Terrified by Hon Di's anger, the city lord forced a shaky smile, claiming panic made him forget, begging to tell the truth. Cornered, he confessed the box was hidden beneath the red carpet in the secret chamber. Pleading for mercy if honest, unmoved, Hon Di approached slowly, voice icy, warning that Carmelite men don't get mercy and heads might roll. The city lord suddenly remembered his trump card and pulled out a golden command token. Grinning smugly, he flaunted it, asking if Hon Di recognized it. The old man frowned and confirmed it was an academy-issued death immunity token. Beaming, the city lord proudly declared himself untouchable in Dongfang Academy with that token. Hon Di admitted it was true, regretfully explaining that as headmaster, he must honor old rules. With no choice, he turned to leave, stating he'd no longer intervene. The city lord rejoiced as if winning a fortune. Bowing in fake gratitude, he vowed to reform while secretly plotting revenge once healed. Just as he gloated, Hon Di coolly remarked that old rules should heed the young's voice. Stunning him, he handed full authority to Henshen, stepping aside as if uninvolved. Henshen advanced, unsettling the city lord. With a sly grin, Henshen said he wouldn't kill, feared no token, but would honor the academy's forbears. Suddenly his face turned cold. He declared that while the academy couldn't strike, that didn't mean he couldn't end it. Out of nowhere, he summoned Lo Bing, a terrifying entity that made the city lord nearly faint. Henshen calmly said, "It doesn't have to be human." The city lord turned pale, collapsing to his knees, begging for mercy, swearing he'd do anything to live. Under cold stares, the man groveled for mercy, but before finishing, two white-armored warriors sliced him clean. Mocking as they did, his screams echoed as blood splattered through the air like crimson ribbons. The golden immunity token split in two, stained red, reflecting the grim fate of the wicked. The story cut back to the inner city's grand hall. where Hone-D was at work. With a firm tug, he pulled off the red cloth, revealing a well-hidden secret chamber beneath. Without hesitation, he struck the stone floor, shaking the entire area violently. An ancient wooden box emerged from the rubble. His eyes gleamed as he declared it the prize he sought. Then his gaze fixed on a glowing red mirror below, sensing fierce energy from the brocade box. Cutting off Henshen's question midair, Henshen asked for a little time, wanting to make use of the freshly slain city lord for something else. The request caught Hone-D off guard, who turned curiously to ask what he planned to do. The next scene unfolded late at night in Dongfang Academy. Henshen sat meditating in a chamber bathed in mystical light. While cultivating, he pondered the strange changes in his body after merging with the two girls. His inner energy suddenly surged dangerously high, making him uneasy about the anomaly. The system announced that his body had absorbed dual mystic yin sacred physiques, accelerating his cultivation. Memories of the two girls flashed surprised. He asked the system, which explained it was a rare body type but incompatible with divine armor. Feeling the intense transformation within, Henshen opened his eyes, sensing the power flood and energy exploded, nearly melting him. The room flared golden, then fell silent. The system reported had advanced to Dragon King level armor knight, leaving him thrilled in disbelief. Yet before he could celebrate, the system warned that the dual cultivation effect worked only once. Henshen paused, grin fading, then burst out laughing like a gamer who'd just exploited a bug. Basking in victory, night descended over the eerie forest beside Dongfang Academy, a place few dared enter. A ragged breath broke the silence. A man was running for his life. He fled in panic, knowing one pause meant instant death. All had wanted was some firewood, yet now he was hunted by savage beasts, baffled by his cruel luck. Leading the monsters was a vicious-looking female fiend whose gaze could freeze souls. The creatures soared up, then dove down, aiming to crush their prey. Looking up, he saw grotesque forms descending and screamed in terror for help. Just before death, Lo Bing sent by Han Shen appeared and obliterated the beasts in an instant. More Lo Bing warriors joined in, slaughtering the monsters one by one as the man stood frozen in awe. Stunned beyond reason, he couldn't comprehend what had just happened. Amid the forest chaos, skeletal warriors clashed with monsters, making the man doubt if he was dreaming. Meanwhile, the system informed Han Shen that the Lo Bing were slaying disasters and racking up experience points. Shine Deng attacked like a storm, wiping out foes as the system displayed dazzling stats and bonus reports. Han Zhen followed up fiercely, showcasing his unmatched defensive prowess. Zhan Jiang entered the fray, swinging a colossal weapon that crushed enemies with overwhelming might. Dukai dashed in like a whirlwind, shattering the monster's formation with precise, lethal strikes. The system kept announcing successful exterminations and growing experience totals. Just sitting and watching, Henshen's experience skyrocketed. He was thrilled by the system's limitless potential. Suddenly, the system responded to his doubt with a new notification. Its reply left him utterly stunned. It confirmed there was no limit at all, blowing his mind completely.